speaking of teams that I think are going to be in the playoffs and I think are going to surprise a lot of people, Mike, you brought them up. Probably the toughest matchup yet for the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's the Indianapolis Colts. Now, Jake, this is no dig at you, my brother, because I was very much on the Packers side yesterday. Unfortunately, these things happen. It was Frank Reich. It was Indianapolis. So, it was one of those moments where, just like Derek Carr trying to do too much, I think your running back did a little too much, which is why the fumble occurred. But are the Colts getting hot at the right time, you guys? And of course, Miss Ruth, the truth, because think about it like this. We always say, as a team gets hot towards the back end of the season, that's the momentum pushing them into the postseason. So I want to start with Tyrus, and then I want to go to Jake because, they did play your team yesterday. But Tyrus, let me ask you, are they getting hot right now? And are they the team that's going to surprise a lot of people in the AFC when it comes to the postseason?
I think so. I think the only teams the only two teams I think are for sure that's better than them is the Steelers and the Chiefs. I think anyone else they can most definitely have a dogfight with. Phillip Rivers is starting to get comfortable. The defense has been looking pretty good all season. I know people always rag on Phillip Rivers. They say he's old. I know a lot of guys on my show was saying that might be time for him to retire. But I most definitely think he has a lot left in the tank. I mean, they put up. I mean, I know the Packers defense isn't all that great, but I mean, they did put up 30-something points yesterday on that defense. He threw for 3 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. So I think most definitely, I think the Colts are getting hot at the right time.
Jake, this is your team that they played against yesterday, my brother. So I got to hear from you on this one.
Well, first off, every time the Packers defense was up, I threw a blindfold over my head because I just couldn't watch this defense play. I love watching the Colts defense play. Yeah, they gave up 31 points. Of course, it's Aaron Rodgers. Matt LaFleur had a good game plan, but give a lot of credit actually to the best guy out there, and that was Frank Reich. Frank Reich did an amazing job adjusting at halftime, and that's one of the best things about him and his coaching staff. They knew they were down 28-14, and they said, hey, we haven't run the ball yet. Let's get this defense on their toes here. That way we can open it up for Phillip Rivers, get Michael Pittman involved, get Zach Pascal involved, Jack Doyle involved, and that's what happened. They ran the football 4 of their first 5 plays on that drive that set up that touchdown to Michael Pittman to make it 28-21. It was a great game for the Colts to win. They needed this game. It was at home, and if you take a look at their schedule, they have a favorable chance to win their division. The only one that looks like a question mark is playing at Las Vegas and at Pittsburgh. Otherwise, they got Tennessee, at Houston twice, then they got Jacksonville. This is an 11-5, 12-4 team that could be a pain in the side and possibly be that sneaky team that gets into the AFC Championship.
Let me get Ms. Ruth the truth in here, because when you're talking about the Colts, I think the biggest knock on Phillip Rivers was the fact that he couldn't beat Tom Brady in the postseason. Mm-hmm. Well, Tom's not in the AFC anymore. He's over here in the NFC. So is this the moment for Phillip Rivers to truly capitalize and actually, go on and possibly beat the Patrick Mahomes of the world, beat the Big Ben Roethlisbergers of the world, and shock a lot of people?
Right. So when it comes to football, offense wins games, defense wins championships. So if the Indianapolis Colts can keep their defense heavy and stay as hot as they are, they do have a chance to make a run for a Super Bowl. I mean, when I see Phillip Rivers coming to this to the Colts team, I automatically thought of Peyton Manning when he made that move to the Denver Broncos, and then he was able to keep them in the playoffs, keep them strong, and then win a Super Bowl. This is what I'm thinking about when I think of Phillip Rivers, and I think they have the capability of doing it. Their run game is solid. Their offensive line can hold. Phillip Rivers obviously has the football IQ, and like I said before, their defense is hot. So I see this being a really good season for the Indianapolis Colts.
I don't disagree. I like the Indianapolis Colts, but let's look at reality and see what happened. They swept the NFC North. They thoroughly handled the Minnesota Vikings. They beat down the Detroit Lions. Chicago was the only close game, gave them their first L. And with Green Bay, I saw a lot on this game. defense of Indianapolis was definitely more physical. Darius Leonard, the quarterback on the defense, and Aaron Rodgers have a hug for mutual respect because that defense was on point. They had 2 turnovers, they had an interception, and I believe they made some moves on special teams. You know what worries me about the Indianapolis Colts, other than the Tennessee Titans, which they have to play this Sunday? The offensive line. Not for protecting Phillip Rivers, but for protecting Phillip Rivers. When Phillip Rivers isn't throwing interceptions, that's probably because there's an offensive hold. 9 offensive holding calls on the offensive line yesterday against the Green Bay Packers because they couldn't handle the smoke from Preston and Sedarian Smith and Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark. I was actually kind of shocked, but the Green Bay Packers salted this game away. They were up 21-7 at the half. They only scored a total of, I believe, 3 points in the third and fourth quarter because they only had 6 offensive plays until late in the third quarter. Indianapolis, they did what they had to do, down those points, ran the ball down their throat the first possession, then passed it the second possession, and had the field goals with Blankenship. They were clutch. Here's my issue with Indy. Number one, you got to beat Tennessee because you two have been jockeying for position. We talked about this in the spring. Number two, I believe Buffalo might actually be better than them, and Pittsburgh has a better defense. Kansas City can outscore them because Phillip Rivers can't handle that smoke.
Good points, Alex. And actually, they were outscored 20-3 in the second half, just something that was brought to my attention. So, Mike, let me go to you, my brother, because the Indianapolis Colts, you and I have kind of talked about Phillip Rivers, and on one hand, we're saying, listen, this brother's old, he needs to move on, but now he seems he's got a fresh start. Do you think that Frank Reich, the combination of Frank Reich and Phillip Rivers, can make a viable run moving forward?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm piggybacking off of you because we talked about this. We said once he moved to Florida and he was a free agent and he wasn't going to be back with the Chargers, we said outside of if you don't know Cam Newton's health, like Phillip Rivers is the best fit for Indianapolis because Frank Reich, again, you go from Andrew Luck, and not that Jacoby Brissett's bad, but at the same time, you look at what Phillip Rivers has done in his career, and Alex hit on it. Yes, the interceptions are bad. You want to talk about a guy that's going to push the ball down the field, that's going to fire up his team, that's going to have him ready to go. It was a great fit. And plus, Frank Reich makes that a great fit, though, because him being a career backup quarterback, I mean, he backed up Jim Kelly. He actually helped one of the biggest comebacks ever in playoff history against the Oilers. So, I mean, that's one of those things where it is a good fit for Phillip Rivers. The turnovers aren't there. Again, that matchup against Vegas, I do think, because I'm in the corner of Buffalo because out of the Raiders and as much as I do love Indianapolis's defense, like what they were able to do, like Jay said, I mean, against Aaron Rodgers, they knew they had to swipe at the ball and they did. So, but Buffalo to me has the best defense of those three. So if it gets into like you're shortening the game by running the ball, in which it would be good for Indianapolis to do. But at the same time, Buffalo's defense can do everything that it can. And obviously that Vegas is can, and I think a little bit better. But to your point with Indianapolis, it's been a great fit for Rivers. Again, he got a little banged up yesterday. It helps having Jacoby Brissett as a backup. That helps Frank Reich as well. So I love what they're doing. And the only thing I'll say, I mean, again, beating Tennessee, yes, they have to beat Tennessee, but that schedule, man, just like the Raiders, you can't overlook that schedule. Just sets them up to just light some people up and go in as a division.